Commander Alex Ryder had always dreamed of seeing the stars up close, but nothing in his life had prepared him for the Elythrian capital. The city floated above the planet's surface, suspended by invisible energy fields, and shimmered under 3 suns. The architecture was unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, crystalline towers that reflected light in rainbows, with bridges that curved in impossible ways, connecting buildings like delicate threads. Alex took a deep breath inside his suit as the shuttle docked. He was not just any visitor. He was a human diplomat, exobiologist, and part-time problem solver. The Elythrians were known to be proud, intelligent, and mysterious. They never revealed their faces in public. Every Elythrian, even the Queen, wore a helmet. To the humans, this secrecy was intimidating. To Alex, it was fascinating. "Commander Ryder," said Lieutenant Samara, his assistant who had been assigned to guide him through the alien protocols. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed nervous excitement. "Remember, the Elythrians value respect, observation, and patience. Do not rush, and whatever you do not stare too long at the Queen." Alex chuckled, trying to mask his own nervousness. "Right, don't stare, got it. Easy enough." They stepped into the central hall of the Elythrian palace, a vast chamber that seemed to stretch into the sky. Light refracted off the crystal walls, creating a shimmering effect that made it difficult to focus. Elythrians moved gracefully across the floor, their helmets glinting under the ambient light. Each one was taller than a human, with elongated limbs and movements that were precise, almost mechanical. And then he saw her, the Elythrian Queen. Even through the helmet, Alex could sense her presence. There was an elegance and strength in the way she stood, a calm authority that filled the room without a word. Her robes shimmered with colors that seemed to change depending on the angle of the light. Everyone in the hall stopped what they were doing, bowing slightly as she moved. Alex felt a strange flutter in his chest. He quickly reminded himself she is an alien leader. Focus, Alex, diplomacy first, curiosity second. The Queen approached the dais, her movement smooth, deliberate. Her helmet reflected the hall, but somehow it didn't hide the sense of intelligence and grace he could feel radiating from her. When she stopped and regarded the gathered guests, including the humans, Alex noticed the subtle tilt of her head, the way her posture commanded attention without demanding it. "Commander Ryder," said one of the Elythrian counselors, a tall figure with golden trim on his robes. "It is an honor to have humans in our city. The Queen is aware of your arrival." Alex nodded, bowing slightly. "The honor is mine. I hope we can learn from each other." The Queen's helmet turned slowly toward him. That single motion was enough to make him aware of her focus. For a moment, Alex felt exposed, as if she could see not only his appearance but the thoughts behind his eyes. He quickly looked away, pretending to examine a crystal pillar nearby, though in reality, he was trying to calm the unusual heat rising in his chest. "Humans are interesting," the counselor said quietly. "Curious, adaptable, but they rush. They must learn patience if they are to be respected here." Alex swallowed and nodded. "We are ready to learn." The reception began, and Alex observed the Elythrians closely. They did not speak much in words, relying instead on gestures and subtle shifts in their posture to communicate. It was difficult but fascinating. The humans' loud, direct way of speaking seemed almost rude in this environment. Yet Alex noticed the Queen listened more than anyone, observing and calculating with every motion. During a ceremonial toast, Alex found himself standing near the Queen. He had been warned not to approach her too closely, but circumstances, an accidental brush against her advisor, left him uncomfortably near her presence. He could see the fine details of her armor, the intricate carvings on the helmet that no human eye could replicate, the way the light played on the smooth surface. He wanted to ask questions, to understand her, but he reminded himself to stay formal. This was diplomacy, not curiosity, and yet he couldn't help stealing glances. Later, after the reception, Alex was invited to a smaller chamber for a private discussion with the Queen and her council. The room was quieter, the light softer, giving him a chance to see the Queen in more detail. She moved toward the center of the room and gestured for him to take a seat across from her. Alex sat, trying to appear confident. He noticed how the Queen's hands, though gloved, moved with an elegance he had never seen in any human. Every motion seemed purposeful, every tilt of her head intentional. She radiated calmness, yet he sensed immense power beneath the surface. "Commander Ryder," she said, her voice melodic but firm. We welcome humans to our city, but we have concerns. Your species is strong, adaptable, yet reckless. How can we trust you not to disturb the balance of our world? Alex straightened. Your Majesty, humans have made mistakes, yes. But we also have the ability to learn, to adapt, and to work together. I hope we can prove that to you. She tilted her head slightly. It was a simple gesture, but it carried weight. Alex felt a strange connection, an unspoken understanding. The counselor spoke next, outlining various rules and expectations for human conduct. Alex listened carefully, taking mental notes. He knew the stakes. One wrong move could ruin not only the mission, but the possibility of lasting friendship between their species. As the meeting concluded, the Queen nodded subtly, signaling approval of his answers. Alex felt a rush of relief mixed with awe. Her presence was magnetic, commanding respect not by force but by sheer intellect and grace. That evening, as he returned to the human quarters, Alex reflected on the day. He could not stop thinking about the Queen, the way she moved, the calm authority she exuded, and the sense that despite her helmet she was alive, intelligent, and profoundly fascinating. He tried to push aside his feelings. After all, she was the ruler of a powerful alien species, and he was just a human diplomat. Yet a small voice inside him whispered something he could not ignore. There was more to her than the helmet. He had seen it in her eyes, or at least what he imagined were her eyes through the reflective surface. There was intelligence, curiosity, and perhaps even understanding. Alex knew one thing for certain. The Elithrian Queen was unlike anyone he had ever met. And despite himself, he felt a spark of admiration and something more that he could not yet define. As he prepared for the days ahead, filled with diplomacy, learning, and observation, Alex realized that this mission was not only about building bridges between humans and Elithrians. It was about discovering the depth of connection that could exist between two very different species, and perhaps, if he was fortunate, understanding the Queen in ways no other human had. The next morning, Commander Alex Ryder woke early in the human quarters of the Elithrian Palace. Though the city outside was a spectacle of light and crystal, Alex found himself drawn to quiet observation, taking mental notes of the world around him. Humans had often underestimated alien intelligence, but this place proved just how complex and beautiful life beyond Earth could be. Lieutenant Samara knocked on his door. Commander, the Queen has requested your presence in the research wing. She wants to begin joint work with human scientists immediately. Alex felt a surge of excitement. The Elithrians were inviting him to work closely with them. This was rare. Understood. Let's not keep her waiting. When he arrived, he found a laboratory unlike anything he had ever seen. Crystalline instruments floated mid-air, suspended by energy fields. Walls displayed holographic data streams in colors Alex had no names for, constantly shifting in patterns. Elithrians moved among the instruments with grace and precision, adjusting devices with gestures that seemed almost like dance. The Queen stood at the center, her helmet catching the light and scattering it across the lab. Even behind the reflective surface, Alex could sense the intelligence in her posture. She turned to him, her head tilting slightly. Commander Ryder, today we will work together. Humans and Elithrians must learn to understand one another fully if we are to share knowledge. Alex nodded. I look forward to it, Your Majesty. He knew that formalities mattered, yet he also sensed the possibility for genuine connection. Their task for the day was to study the planet's unique bioluminescent plants, which thrived in the energy fields above the surface. The plants had healing properties unknown to human science, and understanding them could benefit both species. Alex and the Queen worked side by side, examining the glowing flora and exchanging observations. Alex found himself amazed by her methods. She didn't rely on words alone. A slight gesture of her hand could adjust the energy output of a device. A tilt of her head would signal a shift in focus or attention. Alex tried to imitate her movements, learning not just the science but the subtle language of the Elithrians. Your methods are precise, Alex said carefully, aware of the need for respect. Humans are often more direct. The Queen's head tilted slightly in what he interpreted as acknowledgement, perhaps even amusement. She handed him a small crystalline tool. Alex handled it with care, trying to understand the balance of energy within it. With a few tentative adjustments, he managed to stabilize the energy flow and illuminate a previously hidden part of the plant. The Queen observed, then lowered her hand in a small gesture of approval. "You are adaptable, Commander. Humans can learn more than they are given credit for." Alex felt a warm pride, but he also felt a strange nervous energy in her presence. Despite her helmet, he sensed an awareness that went beyond observation. It was as if she understood not just his actions but his intent, his curiosity, and perhaps even his admiration. As the day progressed, Alex faced challenges he had not expected. The energy fields reacted unpredictably to human instruments, and some Elythrians regarded his attempts with skepticism. A minor error caused a small flare of energy, enough to alarm the lab but not enough to cause harm. Alex froze, expecting rebuke. Instead, the Queen moved with speed and precision, adjusting the devices with a series of fluid gestures. Within moments, the flare dissipated and the lab returned to calm. She looked at him briefly, her helmet reflecting his image, and inclined her head. "You remain calm under pressure. That is commendable." Alex exhaled, relief washing over him. This moment cemented something he already suspected. Despite cultural differences, Elythrians respected courage and composure. Humans might be reckless, but they were capable of bravery and ingenuity. By afternoon, the Queen led Alex to a new part of the research wing, a room filled with delicate crystalline spheres floating in zero gravity. Each sphere contained a tiny ecosystem, complete with miniature plants and creatures. The Elythrians considered these spheres sacred, teaching tools to understand the balance of life. "Observe carefully," the Queen said, her voice calm. "These ecosystems are fragile. Your actions, however small, can affect them profoundly." Alex crouched near one of the spheres, marveling at the miniature world inside. Tiny creatures moved among the plants, their movements graceful and purposeful. Alex carefully adjusted a small energy input, ensuring the ecosystem remained balanced. He realized that human intuition, paired with the Queen's guidance, could yield remarkable results. Hours passed in a blur of observation, experimentation, and quiet teaching. Alex learned to communicate in ways beyond words, through gestures, timing, and shared attention. In turn, he noticed subtle shifts in the Queen's movements, an occasional softening of posture when he succeeded, a slight pause that seemed like consideration of his thoughts. During a brief break, Alex found himself standing near the lab's observation window, watching the floating city shimmer in the sunset. Lieutenant Samara joined him. "You've done well today, Commander. I've never seen an Elythrian acknowledge a human's ability so openly." Alex smiled. "It's incredible." "She's incredible. Not just smart, but there's something about her." "I can't explain it." Samara gave a small smile. "Be careful. The Elythrians are not humans. Admiration is one thing. Misinterpretation is another." Alex nodded, but inside he knew that what he felt was more than simple curiosity. He respected her authority, but there was also a spark of fascination, something that made him want to understand her completely. Later that evening, a minor crisis tested both human and Elythrian skills. A sudden energy fluctuation caused several crystalline instruments to destabilize. Alex and the Queen sprang into action, coordinating their movements. The Queen used gestures and head tilts to direct the Elythrians, while Alex implemented human problem-solving strategies, improvising solutions on the spot. Their combined effort stabilized the lab. The Queen looked at Alex, and for a brief moment he thought he saw something human in her acknowledgement. Approval, gratitude, perhaps even a hint of shared relief. That night, as Alex prepared for sleep, he reflected on the day. He had learned more about Elythrian culture, their intelligence, and their methods than he ever expected. But more than that, he had learned about the Queen, her calm authority, her subtle appreciation for human ingenuity, and the unspoken connection growing between them. Alex knew that the days ahead would be filled with challenges, cultural lessons, and delicate diplomacy. But he also knew that he was beginning to see the Elythrian Queen not just as a leader, but as an individual, someone capable of thought, feeling, and perhaps even understanding him. As he lay down, staring at the alien sky from his quarters, Alex realized that his mission was no longer just about diplomacy. It was about building trust, bridging cultures, and discovering the depth of connection that could exist between two species. And deep inside, A quiet thought whispered in his mind, maybe, just maybe. There was more to this connection than he dared to imagine. The Elythrian palace was quiet that morning, almost serene, but Commander Alex Rider felt a tension in the air. Today was no ordinary day. A sudden alert had come from the palace environmental systems, a malfunction in one of the outer domes. Though minor, the issue could escalate quickly, and the Queen had personally requested Alex's assistance. As he made his way through the crystal corridors, Alex felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had learned much about Elythrian science and culture in the past few days, but nothing prepared him for the intimacy of working alongside the Queen under pressure. When he arrived at the affected dome, he saw her immediately. The Elythrian Queen stood in the center of the chamber, helmet reflecting the shifting light of the damaged energy fields. Her posture was calm, yet Alex sensed her alertness. The air inside the dome shimmered with unstable energy, causing the crystalline flora to pulse unnaturally. "Commander Rider," she said, her voice steady but carrying a note of urgency. "The dome's life support matrix is unstable. We must stabilize it immediately, or the ecosystem within may collapse." Alex nodded, swallowing his nervousness. "I understand, Your Majesty. Let's work together." They moved through the dome side by side. Alex carefully adjusted human instruments while the Queen directed Elythrian assistance with precise gestures. Every motion she made seemed perfectly calculated yet fluid, like water flowing over rocks. Despite her helmet, Alex felt a strange connection, as if she could sense his thoughts and intentions. Suddenly, one of the energy conduits sparked, sending a pulse of unstable light across the dome. Alex froze for a split second, then reacted, quickly rerouting a power flow to prevent further damage. The Queen's head tilted slightly, signaling approval, but the next moment her own systems faltered. A small valve regulating her suit's environmental balance began to fail. "Commander, I require your assistance," she said calmly, though Alex sensed the undercurrent of urgency. Without thinking, Alex moved closer. He realized that her helmet had internal oxygen support, but the malfunction could intensify. "I can help," he said firmly. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Alex worked quickly to stabilize her suit, adjusting delicate controls and carefully observing her responses. The Elythrian's technology was advanced, intricate, and unlike anything human engineers had designed. Yet, through patience and observation, Alex managed to restore balance. Then something unexpected happened. To breathe properly while he worked, the Queen removed her helmet. Alex froze, staring. For a moment, time seemed to slow. There she was, without the reflective barrier, revealing her true form. Her face was unlike anything he had imagined, elegant, symmetrical, and luminous. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the light of the dome, and her eyes were deep and intelligent, filled with wisdom and curiosity. Her features were delicate yet strong, a perfect balance of beauty and authority. Alex felt his heart pound. He had admired her from a distance, respected her from afar, but now he was captivated, not just by her appearance, but by the courage and trust she showed in revealing herself to him. The Queen held his gaze for a moment. There was no fear, only a calm expectation. Alex realized that this act was not merely practical. It was a gesture of trust, something rare and sacred among her people. He began, then stopped. Words felt inadequate. She tilted her head slightly, as if understanding the turmoil in his mind. "Do not speak, Commander. Focus. The dome must be stabilized." Alex nodded, heart still racing. He resumed his work, adjusting conduits, monitoring energy flows, and carefully balancing human and Elythrian technology. Despite the danger, a strange calm settled over him, strengthened by her presence. After several tense minutes, the dome system stabilized. The plants and crystalline spheres pulsed with a gentle, healthy glow once again. Alex finally allowed himself to look at her fully, noticing every detail, the subtle luminescence of her skin, the graceful curve of her neck, and the quiet strength in her posture. "You handled that remarkably," she said, replacing her helmet with a simple gesture. "Humans possess ingenuity I did not fully expect." "You adapt quickly," Alex exhaled, trying to steady his voice. "Your Majesty, you are incredible. Not just your skills, but the trust you showed." "Thank you." The Queen inclined her head slightly. "Trust is necessary for survival, Commander Rider, and you have proven worthy of it." For a moment, words were unnecessary. The dome's gentle glow reflected their shared accomplishment, and Alex realized that the connection between them went beyond duty. There was respect, mutual admiration, and something deeper, a spark of understanding that transcended their species. Later, in the palace corridors, Alex walked beside the Queen, who had returned to her ceremonial robes. Though her helmet was back in place, he carried the memory of her face luminous and real, as if it had been etched into his mind. "Commander," she said quietly, "you have shown patience, intelligence, and courage. Human qualities I find valuable. I hope our peoples can learn from one another as we have today." Alex smiled, feeling warmth in his chest. "I believe they can, Your Majesty, and I hope we can continue to learn from each other." The Queen's head tilted slightly, again a gesture that seemed to carry more meaning than words. Alex thought he detected the faintest trace of what might be approval, or perhaps curiosity about him as a person, not just a human diplomat. That night, Alex reflected on the day. He had faced danger, solved complex problems, and earned the Queen's trust. But more than that, he had glimpsed the person behind the helmet. She was not just a ruler. She was intelligent, compassionate, and courageous. And in that moment he realized something he could not ignore. He was falling for her. The thought made him uneasy. Elithrians were not humans. Their culture, their priorities, and their lifespans were different. But the admiration, the respect, and the spark of connection felt undeniable. He wondered if she felt it too, though he could not yet tell. Over the next few days, Alex continued working closely with the Queen. Together, they conducted research, solved technological challenges, and shared small moments of quiet conversation. The Queen remained cautious, always aware of protocol, yet Alex noticed subtle gestures that suggested she valued his presence. A pause in her movement when he offered a solution, a slight inclination of her head when he explained a concept clearly, a quiet glance that lingered just a second longer than necessary. Through these moments, Alex learned an important lesson. Connection was not always verbal. Trust and admiration could be communicated through action, attention, and shared experience. And in Elithrian culture, such gestures were profound. One evening, as Alex prepared to leave the lab, the Queen approached him. "Commander Ryder," she said softly, "you have shown remarkable understanding of both our science and our culture. I find your presence agreeable. Your people may yet surprise us." Alex felt a rush of emotion. He bowed slightly, careful to remain formal. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to work with you. I hope to continue earning your trust and friendship." She inclined her head once more, a subtle but meaningful acknowledgement. Alex knew then that their bond had deepened. It was not love yet, not in the traditional sense, but it was a connection rooted in respect, admiration, and trust. As he left the lab and walked back to the human quarters, Alex stared at the stars above the Elithrian city. He realized that he had crossed a threshold, not just in diplomacy, but in understanding. He had seen the Queen not as a distant armored ruler, but as a being capable of thought, feeling, and trust, and in doing so, he had discovered a spark within himself, a spark that would guide the days to come. The Elithrian Queen had removed her helmet once, revealing more than her face. She had revealed a possibility, that two very different beings could connect, understand, and perhaps even care for one another. The morning sun cast a pale glow over the Elithrian city, its crystal towers glimmering with reflections from 3 distant suns. Commander Alex Ryder stood on the observation deck of the palace, his eyes scanning the horizon. Despite the beauty, a sense of urgency pressed on him. A new alert had come from the planetary monitoring systems. An asteroid large enough to endanger both human colonies and Elithrian habitats was heading straight for the planet. Alex's heart raced. This was no ordinary mission. It was a test of human ingenuity, Elithrian intelligence, and the trust that had begun to grow between the two species. Lieutenant Samara approached him, her expression serious. "Commander, the Queen requests your presence in the war room immediately. She wants to coordinate a defense plan." Alex nodded. "Understood. Let's move." The war room was a vast circular chamber, its walls made of translucent crystal displaying the asteroid's trajectory. Elithrian scientists and military advisors moved with quiet precision, adjusting holographic displays and discussing calculations in a series of gestures and soft tones. The Queen stood at the center, her helmet catching the light and scattering it in patterns across the room. "Commander Ryder," she said as he entered, her voice steady. "We must work together. Your people's creativity and our precision must combine if we are to save this planet." Alex bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I will do everything I can." The plan was complex. The asteroid could not be destroyed outright, it was too massive. Instead, they needed to alter its course using a combination of human engineering devices and Elythrian energy manipulation. Both approaches required perfect timing and synchronization. A single mistake could mean catastrophe. Alex studied the holographic model. "If we use our propulsion arrays to nudge it gradually, while your energy fields guide the trajectory, we can redirect it safely," he explained, pointing at the floating projections. The Queen observed silently, her head tilting slightly as she analyzed his proposal. Then she gestured to her team, and they began integrating human devices with Elythrian technology. The process required constant adjustments, careful monitoring, and flawless communication across species. Alex worked tirelessly, directing human engineers while interpreting the Queen's subtle gestures. Their coordination amazed him. She could convey complex instructions without speaking a word, and he quickly learned to read the nuances of her body language. Together they became a seamless team, bridging the gap between human ingenuity and Elythrian precision. Hours passed. Sweat beaded on Alex's forehead and his fingers ached from constant adjustments. Yet every time he glanced at the Queen, he saw calm focus, unwavering determination, and the quiet acknowledgement of his efforts. She moved among her advisors, making minor corrections, always observing, always thinking. A tense moment came when the asteroid's trajectory shifted unexpectedly. Alarms rang and the holographic projection flickered. Alex's mind raced. "We need to adjust the energy fields now," he shouted. The Queen's helmet reflected the chaotic lights, but her movements were deliberate. She gestured to her assistants, who adjusted the Elythrian devices, while Alex recalculated the propulsion arrays. The two of them worked in perfect harmony, human intuition complementing alien precision. Slowly, the asteroid's path began to stabilize. During the crisis, Alex realized how deeply he had come to respect the Queen. She was more than a ruler. She was a strategist, a scientist, and a leader who inspired confidence without raising her voice. Despite her alien appearance, her qualities were strikingly human in essence: courage, intelligence, and trust in those around her. Finally, after hours of tension, the asteroid's path was successfully altered. It passed safely by the planet, leaving both human colonies and Elythrian habitats untouched. The room erupted in quiet celebration. Elythrians bowed subtly, humans clapped, and the Queen turned toward Alex. "You did well, Commander," she said, her voice calm but carrying approval. "Your actions today have saved lives. You have shown human courage and ingenuity at its finest." Alex felt a surge of pride. "Your Majesty, we did this together. I could not have done it without your guidance." She inclined her head slightly, a gesture that Alex had come to interpret as respect and perhaps even personal acknowledgement. For a brief moment, the formal barriers between them seemed to vanish, leaving only two beings who had faced danger side by side and emerged victorious. After the mission, Alex was invited to a private debrief with the Queen. They walked through the palace gardens, where floating streams of light reflected off crystalline flowers. The air was filled with soft hums of alien insects and the faint scent of luminous plants. "You have proven much to me, Commander," the Queen said softly, her hands clasped behind her back. "Humans are capable of remarkable things. I am beginning to see why your species holds such potential." Alex looked at her, remembering the moment when she had removed her helmet days before. "Your Majesty, you are incredible. You trust me even when the stakes are high. It means a lot." The Queen paused, considering her words carefully. "Trust is not given lightly among my people. To remove one's helmet, to show oneself fully, it is a gesture of ultimate faith. You have earned my respect. Perhaps more than that." Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. The Queen's words were not declarations of affection, yet they carried a weight that was almost tangible. He realized that the connection between them had deepened beyond professional respect. It was personal, built on shared experience, courage, and trust. In the days following the asteroid incident, Alex continued working closely with the Elythrians. Together, they improved energy management systems, stabilized ecosystems, and developed strategies for future planetary protection. Throughout it all, the Queen observed him closely, sometimes with a slight tilt of her head, sometimes with a subtle pause in her movements, gestures he had learned to interpret as acknowledgement and appreciation. One evening, Alex found himself alone with the Queen in a quiet chamber. The palace lights reflected softly on her helmet, casting faint patterns across the floor. "Commander Ryder," she said, her voice gentle, "you have done more than your duty. You have shown humans can be worthy allies. That gives me hope for the future of our peoples." Alex smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and emotion he could not fully express. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to work with you, and I hope we can continue to learn from each other." She inclined her head, and for a moment their eyes, or at least what he imagined were her eyes behind the helmet, met in silent understanding. It was a quiet, powerful connection, one that transcended language and culture. As Alex returned to his quarters that night, he reflected on the past days. The asteroid crisis had tested him, the Elythrians, and their ability to work together. But it had also solidified something deeper, the bond between him and the Queen. He thought of her, helmeted and commanding, yet capable of vulnerability and trust. He thought of the way she had allowed him to assist her, the way she had guided the mission, and the subtle gestures of acknowledgement that had made him feel seen, respected, and understood. Alex realized that humanity's strength lay not only in courage or intelligence, but in the ability to build trust, inspire collaboration, and forge connections across cultures, even across species. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the spark of something new, a hope that the connection he shared with the Elythrian Queen could grow into something more profound, built on mutual respect, shared experience, and the extraordinary circumstances that had brought them together. The night sky above the Elythrian city glittered with stars, planets, and distant suns. Alex knew that the challenges ahead would be many, but he also knew that he was ready. For the first time, he understood that true courage was not only in facing danger, but in embracing connection, trust, and the potential for understanding in a vast, complex universe. The Elythrian city was alive with celebration. The asteroid, once a looming threat, had safely passed by the planet, leaving both human and Elythrian settlements unharmed. Streets and skyways shimmered with energy lights, and the floating crystal towers reflected the joy of the day. Commander Alex Ryder walked beside Lieutenant Samara toward the palace, feeling a sense of accomplishment but also anticipation. Today, diplomacy had turned into celebration, and perhaps the human-alien connection he had been nurturing could take a new step. Inside the palace, Elythrians and humans mingled in cautious harmony. Elythrians moved with grace, humans with curiosity, and everywhere there were gestures of mutual respect. At the center of it all stood the Elythrian Queen, her helmet gleaming under the sun's reflection. She watched over her people with calm authority, yet there was a softness in her posture that Alex had come to recognize, an acknowledgement of trust and partnership. As the celebrations continued, Alex was invited to a private chamber with the Queen. This room overlooked the city, its glass walls providing a panoramic view of floating towers, glowing gardens, and the distant stars. The hum of celebrations was faint here, replaced by a gentle calm. "Commander Ryder," the Queen said, her voice quiet, almost melodic. "Today marks a significant moment for our peoples. Your courage, intelligence, and adaptability have proven humans are capable allies. More importantly, you have shown understanding, patience, and respect for Elythrian ways." Alex bowed slightly, feeling warmth in his chest. "Your Majesty, it has been an honor to work alongside you. I have learned more than I could have imagined, not just about your people, but about courage, patience, and collaboration. And I hope to continue learning." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she did something she had not done before in his presence. She removed her helmet. Alex's breath caught. He had seen her face once before during the dome crisis, but the memory was sharper now, clearer and more real. Her luminous skin, delicate yet strong features, and intelligent eyes held a depth that left him captivated. She was regal yet approachable, authoritative yet kind. And in that moment he realized that this gesture was more than protocol. It was a symbol of trust, openness, and connection. "You have been honest, brave, and respectful," she said softly. I have observed your actions, your intentions, and your heart. It is rare for an Elythrian to encounter someone who inspires both trust and admiration. You have done so. Alex felt a warmth spread through him, a mix of pride, relief, and something deeper. Your Majesty, I do not know if words are enough, but I hope you understand that I respect you, admire you, and I care for you. The Queen tilted her head slightly, a gesture Alex had come to recognize as acknowledgement and subtle warmth. Care is a powerful bond, Commander Ryder. It is built on trust, respect, and shared experience. You have earned that bond with me, perhaps. We are not so different, you and I, despite our species. Alex smiled, feeling a connection that transcended words. Here in this chamber, with the city and stars around them, two beings from entirely different worlds had forged a bridge. It was not just diplomacy. It was understanding, respect, and perhaps the beginnings of something more. The Queen replaced her helmet, but the memory of her face, her trust and openness, remained vivid in Alex's mind. He realized that trust, courage, and empathy were universal, crossing boundaries of species, culture, and even appearance. Humanity's strength lay not only in technology or strategy, but in the ability to connect, to inspire, and to forge bonds in the face of the unknown. The celebrations outside continued, but Alex and the Queen remained in the quiet of the chamber for a while longer. They spoke of ideas, science, and the future, discovering shared values and common goals. Each word, gesture, and glance reinforced the connection between them, subtle yet profound. By nightfall, the palace gardens glowed with luminescent flora. Elythrians and humans mingled, sharing stories and laughter. Alex walked through the gardens, his thoughts on the Queen and the bond they had begun to nurture. He knew that the road ahead would not always be easy. There were cultural differences, political challenges, and vast distances between their worlds. Yet he felt hope. He felt the possibility of unity, not only between humans and Elythrians, but between two beings who had learned to trust and understand each other. As he stood near a glowing stream, the Queen approached. Her helmet reflected the soft light, but her presence felt intimate, familiar, and welcoming. Commander Ryder, she said, her voice gentle, our peoples will face many challenges, but today shows what is possible when trust and courage guide actions. You have taught me that humans possess qualities I admire deeply. Alex looked at her, feeling a mix of pride and emotion. Your Majesty, you have inspired me as well. You have shown wisdom, courage, and trust beyond anything I imagined. I am honored to have worked with you. For a long moment they stood in silence, two beings from distant worlds sharing a quiet understanding. The air between them was filled with respect, admiration, and the unspoken possibility of something more. Finally, the Queen spoke again. Perhaps, in time, our bond may grow further, not only between our peoples, but between us as individuals. But for now, let this moment mark a new beginning. Alex nodded, feeling a sense of completion and anticipation. He knew that the future held challenges, but he also knew that they had forged a connection strong enough to face them together. As he returned to the human quarters that night, Alex reflected on the journey he had undertaken. From the first moment he saw the Elythrian Queen, through days of observation, collaboration, and crisis, to this night of quiet understanding, he had witnessed the power of courage, intelligence, and trust. He had discovered that humans could inspire, connect, and bridge worlds in ways that went beyond technology or strength. And somewhere deep inside, he carried the memory of the Queen's face, the trust she had shown, and the spark of connection that had begun to grow. It was a reminder that humanity's true strength lay in empathy, courage, and the willingness to reach across differences to build understanding. The Elythrian city glittered beneath the stars, a symbol of hope, unity, and possibility. And as Alex gazed at the night sky, he realized that his life, and perhaps the lives of both humans and Elythrians, had changed forever. He thought of the Queen, her courage, her wisdom, and the trust she had placed in him. He smiled quietly, knowing that the journey was only beginning, but confident that together, humans and Elythrians could face whatever challenges the universe might bring.